Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Candid Shop Talk. I'm Dave from Candid. With me today are Itasha and Jolie from our engagement department. And we thought we would take a minute to show you around Candid. We are Candid. We make Candid. We talk about Candid a lot. Candid is a wholesale platform that helps you buy, sell, and pay for wholesale. And it's got a lot of moving pieces that we think people in this group and beyond might be interested in. So today, we thought we would give you a quick run through of what it can do for you, and let's get started. So first and foremost, we have talked about this a little bit in previous editions of this show, but when we talk about wholesale, there's, it's more than just buying and selling. There are kind of four things that we at Candid think are the important things and the things to really focus on if you want to do it right. And specifically what your tool set should help you do right. And that is to find new partners, to optimize ordering, to eliminate waste, and to build and maintain trust. So what that means, basically numbers 1 and 4 are about the people, and numbers 2 and 3 are about the process. And what we think that there's the two are somewhat inextricable. You can't really have the process without the people, and the people are the ones involved in the process. So we're going to keep coming back to those, but with those in mind, let's talk about Candid. Let's talk about who it's for. This is not business to consumer software, so this isn't going to replace your Shopify or your WooCommerce or your Square or anything like that. Candid is a tool for brands, retailers, and showrooms. So if you sell wholesale, if you buy wholesale, or if you broker wholesale transactions, we've got something and some things that you should find pretty helpful. As far as who's in there right now, there's no reason that you can't buy or sell anything with Candid, but right now, if you want to find other people who are already in the app, and if you want to use the tools that are built more for your verticals, we're really focusing right now on apparel, home goods, jewelry, fragrance, athleisure, kind of anything that you'd find in a more boutique-y storefront environment. Again, there's no reason you need to be in these lanes, but you'll just have a much better time finding people who are buying and selling what you're looking to sell and buy if you're in those. And then the other part of the introduction, why should you care? Why should you try it? Say you are a brand, retailer, or a showroom. Clearly you're doing something already and it's working well enough. So why try Candid? And right now, I mean, the best answer for right now is because it's free. We've made it's really important to us that this application is always free and that there is a forever free tier that is going to be useful for everyone. And it does cost money once you ramp up to the pro and the complete levels, but those are generally based on higher volume users. So as you go up, as you use the app more and more and more, you're going to find that you want some of these extra features like more catalog customization options, lower transaction fees, and more of the sort of hands-on support when it comes to handling all the things that sort of happen at scale. Additionally, in addition to that, right now, because everything is sort of in a weird state right now due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are making it free through September 2020 at all levels. So you can get in there, you can try, literally any part of the app for free. And honestly, that, in March, we said it was going to be free for 6 months. I think we're looking at May right now, and things are sort of moving at a pace that I wouldn't be terribly surprised if it is maybe free for a little bit longer, but we're evaluating as we go. Yeah, do you want to speak to that, Natasha?
Oh, it's like there's a lot of unknowns, and we decided to make it free to help people through this. And now we don't know how long this is going to last. So I think that it's nice that we're flexible, and we're going to see like where the economy is going and also what happens with trade shows and wholesale. A lot of people I'm talking to right now are like, well, why do I need this? Wholesale isn't happening for me. And I think that it's really a good opportunity because there's a bit of downtime to focus on the future and when wholesale will begin again, because it's inevitable that it will. We just don't know exactly when that's going to kick up yet.
Yeah, it's a good time to adopt new tools because it's like if things are slow for people, they can take the time to, get to know the software, get to know us, and figure out how to implement that in their business. So
Yeah. And we
downtime
have
can
time.
sometimes be productive time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
That's
have the
absolutely
time to support them too. So
Yeah.
we're like very much here in
That's
terms
true.
of customer support. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a really
Yeah.
good point. And it's wholesale in general is perhaps more sensitive to cycles than other industries and other parts of the world, just because you have to some extent you have to be predicting the future. You know, you're
Mhm.
making decisions in the summer for what you think is going to be selling in stores in winter. And you know, while this is certainly not a great thing to have happened, it is just another thing that people who are already good at planning have to plan around. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a really good point, that this is the time to hunker down and plan for what comes next, because unless they cancel Christmas, we're all going to be quite busy in July and
Yeah.
August getting ready for the holiday markets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Christmas is canceled. I don't want to hear that. I don't think your kids are
Not
like
yet.
that either.
Not yet,
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, and I know online sales are up for some people because there's lots of people who might be coronavirus sheltering shopping.
Yep.
I know I've done that a little bit myself. I'm like, oh, I'm shopping for toilet paper, groceries, but then I'm like, that new top looks really nice right now for wearing at home, working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I
So you
think
can see
it
me on my
might
Zoom.
also
Yeah.
change sales, might change, that might change the landscape of what that looks like, and see a lot more online sales happening for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And loyalty too. Like the money that I'm spending online is very specific. You know, I
Yeah.
want it to go towards the companies that I want to see succeed in the future. And that's
Same.
true for makers and for retailers. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great points. I know our colleague Avery said the other day something that really stuck with me, which is that spending $1 right now just feels like a political act, and it is. You're choosing. You know, you feel like a gardener with a limited amount of water in your can, you know, picking who you want to be there when this is all over.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, great answers to the question of why should we even be caring about this right now when things are what they are. Another key point that is again really important to our model and our success model for our users is that we understand that you have a lot of tools, and we're not necessarily trying to take you away from what you're currently using. I think we spend a lot of our time in terms of application development and our support structure, making sure that Candid plays nice with the rest of your tools, because a lot of times people who are coming to Candid, you know, some statistic, it's something like 80 to 90% of all wholesale sellers within a certain, you know, SME, small to medium enterprise class, just use spreadsheets and they use pen and paper, and they really are coming from no system, which itself is a system, you know, but it's Google Docs, it's Barb needing to be there so she can answer your very specific question because there's not really anyone else who knows how to look it up. So the idea is you know, on day one, we don't want you to throw out what's already working for you. And if you have other channels that you're using, you know, you certainly don't need to get off Amazon or Faire or whatever, if you want to be using Candid. And in fact, we integrate with a number of platforms to make it easier for that all to work. So let's dive in real quick with a tour of the application. Let me bring over my other window here. Can probably hide my bookmark bar, but I don't know how. So here we are. Okay, so Candid is, you know, it makes it very easy to switch back and forth between seller and buyer land, which is crucial because not everyone is one or the other. A lot of times, you know, a big portion of our users that I've seen and that I know personally, you know, they manufacture apparel, but then they have a boutique where they sell their own apparel, but then, you know, you want to beef it up with other people's stuff. So you will have this, a lot of players in the industry are buying and selling wholesale. So we keep it separate, but also unified. So you can track orders coming in, you can track orders going out using a familiar interface and the network that you already have. The crux of it is the order. So let's just open up an order. Candid is built around the order, which is just a collaborative order form. It seems pretty simple. It's you know, people who haven't done a lot of wholesaling will sometimes think that this is like a shopping cart, which it is in a sense, and we try to make it a lot more like a shopping cart than other platforms, but really it's a little trickier because it's not, you don't always start and then finish an order in one linear shot. A lot of times there's a fair amount of back and forth, and that's ultimately the problem that we started Candid to solve, which is this, you know, person A has this catalog, person B wants to buy from it, and you can just have this crazy mess of communication going back and forth, and just waste a lot of time doing data entry and keeping track of what the latest version of everything is. To the point where, you know, at scale, like you wind up getting crippled by your own success, and you're just losing a lot of time, and you're not able to keep up with demand. So what that means for us is, instead of one person being the keeper of the order and another person, you know, talking to you and telling you what to do, as the seller, I can go in and adjust the order. As the buyer, I can also access this order, and we can go back and forth and track sort of who's signed off on it via approval. It goes from draft to discussion to each side approving it, and then finally to shipped and invoiced and received. And it's, again, a seemingly simple thing, but this is basically the essence of Candid. So this is what you see as a buyer and a seller. It's a consistent interface with bells and whistles up the wazoo. You know, you can attach terms, you can have notes, you can tweak things like MSRP and SKUs, you can split shipments, you can set delivery terms, it saves addresses, it tracks order margins so people can see what their profit is on a given order, all sorts of fun stuff with an integrated message system. The order then comes from...
I just want to say, when I was... Okay, just some features that I liked when I was using it as a wholesale manager for North of West. A lot of our stores were wanting to split their shipments because they wanted to not get everything at once. So that's a really awesome opportunity, like shipment A. And when I sign in, I can see like what's supposed to ship out this week, and it's really organized so I don't lose or miss anything. Because before we used Candid, it was just, on a spreadsheet, or like I had a handwritten calendar that was like, this order goes out this day. And if I lost that piece of paper, then I was kind of screwed, or I had to go through all my emails and figure out who wanted what when. So it was really lovely to have that. And just having the communication back and forth made every order very different, and it was specific to each retailer and exactly their needs. So,
no, that's fantastic. And that's your story is everyone's story. We've heard that so much. It's just it's hard not to do it ad hoc, and we're trying to make that easier.
Just one more thing that I was remembering is sometimes people would place orders and they would put like, 2 extra small, 2 small, 0 medium, 2 large. And so I had a chance to be like, is this actually what you want? Or, so in that review process, you can make sure that you're getting all the quantities that they want, and all, just doing that kind of final check before the order goes out is really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes you just, sometimes you do want it to be more like an e-commerce sale where you're just, you got the order, you finalize the order, you press play, and it's just done. Other times it can be a lot more like buying a house. I mean, it totally depends on what the order is, what you're putting through the system. If it's a $10,000 order, you maybe don't mind that it gets touched a few times. Whereas if you're just re-upping on 10 of the shirts that you want from last time, and it's already agreed to. That is another thing too, is that we try to make it very easy. If you've taken an offline order at a trade show or something, or you get a paper order through the fax or whatever, it's very, very quick to throw it into Candid. The fax, just the fax. It's very easy to enter it into Candid, and then you just kind of have it. And the reason, which is a nice segue, why would you care about just having it? And the answer is for analytics and reporting. And it's, this is, okay, there's a few things in here. This is one of my test accounts. Excuse me. But we try to make it very, very easy if you want to sort of get a temperature check on your business, in addition to making the orders and facilitating them. A really big thing that we try to get right here at Candid is let you actually look at them and report on them. and see how you're doing. And that means, reporting is kind of a word that can send shivers down people's spine if they've ever had to do it in a corporate setting that maybe it wasn't something that they were extremely passionate about. But when the reporting is, am I going to be in business next year? How much extra money am I going to have at the end of the quarter for your baby, which is your business? I personally find that I'm much more excited about reporting than I have been when I'm creating a report for someone else. And again, we try to make that very painless and logical. Using just Mad Lib style search terms, you can look for like all my unshipped orders. Great, all my payment status of invoiced. Great, they're approved, and I can go and see, okay, one's invoiced, none are paid, none are overdue, and then you can quickly sort of drill down into that order.
That feature is really nice to see like who you've invoiced and who hasn't paid yet, so you can know who to bug about it. And also seeing the history of the buyers and from last season to the current season and say, oh, did their order grow? Or maybe we don't have things that they like as much this season, and just kind of like seeing that history is really helpful for the relationship. Exactly.
No, and that's a great segue into our next point of interest, which is the relationship. And the relationships that's another, I feel like there are enough people on our team who've been traumatized by their time in the corporate world that I feel like I need to caveat these things. CRM is another one of those 3-letter, 4-letter words that I think makes people's blood run cold, or at least their blood runs very disinterested. It stands for Customer Relationship Manager, and it tends to be just a very clunky extra bit of paperwork that people have to fill out. But again, when they're your relationships, I find that I'm much, much more interested in keeping on top of them and basically keeping track of the relationships, especially in something like wholesale, where it's not something like you jump on Amazon and you look for the cheapest plunger that fits your needs and you get it. You have relationships between the businesses, and you want to maintain them, and you want to watch how they're performing over time. And like you were saying, Natasha, sometimes if you're going in and you're looking at the order history with like, let's see who we got here. My friends at Hand Woven Industries. So you can look at your order history, see where things are at. You can kind of very quickly get a sense of like, are these people big spenders, little spenders? Are they, have they stiffed me on invoicing? When's the last time they ordered? What's their average order size? And this makes it very, very easy for you to say, oh, hey, this, they're due for a $5,000 order, but I haven't heard from them. Let me reach out to them.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. Or, hey, they look like there are all kinds of reasons you could want to reach out to someone and give them a call. And this, we add that, we make sure that this gets automatically updated with every order and every interaction you have with someone, so that you can add to it as much as you want to, but you also don't have to. So it's in real time tracking your history with the customers that you care about. Let's see, another thing, this is just kind of was on my list of things to talk about. When you go into settings, notification and email settings, we make a point of not, well, this is a bad example because there's only me. Let me find a different company. Let's find, I think these guys have a bit more. We don't charge per seat, we charge per company when we charge at all. So as you don't have to all sort of huddle around a shared email alias. You can have as many people on your team as you want. And part of that is this area that you never have to go into if you don't want to. But if you do, you can fine tune with unbelievable precision who gets which emails, which sometimes you've got one person who doesn't care at all about shipping, but really wants to know about payments, or one person, in the scenario we were talking about where you're a brand who also has a boutique, it's very likely that there's a buyer who just doesn't care what you're selling. They're just concerned with wholesale purchasing, and they want nothing to do with these wholesale selling emails. You can set that at every level. You can make it so that someone is the default. You can make it so that someone is always CC'd and can't be removed. And you can make it so that they're BCC'd, so people don't know that, Jen from accounting is getting CC'd on these emails.
I can also see this being a benefit currently because people have had to change their employees'
Yeah.
statuses, and there's a lot of people who are just working on skeleton crews. So maybe they want to keep someone in the loop, or they want to take someone off of the loop, and having
Mhm.
this option is really awesome for that.
No, that's a great point, because the, both of the B's in B2B stand for business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, especially as you get into these relationships that can span decades, the last thing you want to do is have all of your history tied up with one person who's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't know that they're not there anymore, and your emails are just going into the void. This is a really good way of ensuring that the companies stay in communication, regardless of what happens with the people. The other thing that's just a real nice thing that we've found, we've got these little, the buyer HQ and the seller HQ, which are color coded, so you can tell when you're on one or the other, which is a nice, that's helped me with navigation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But one of the, there's so much to stay on top of, and it's, we can slice it and dice it. There's relationships, there's orders, there's products, there's shipments, there's payments. There's just a lot of different types of moving pieces in the system. And one of the big things that Candid does is it unifies it in a way that we think makes sense. So your dashboard here, as a seller, the things you care about, automatically when you log in, the very first thing you see is the recently changed orders. So you can see at a glance what's changed since the last time you were in. You can see orders that are waiting on you. You can see orders that are in discussion that maybe you need a little poke. You can see open invoices, which are obviously very important. You can see ones that are waiting on the other person, so that if they need a little nudge, you can give them a nudge. Overdue shipments, overdue invoices. You can get to all these through the sales page that we were showing earlier, where you can slice and dice the data. But these are big enough and important enough parts of your business that we surface them right to the front. And there's, last but not least, I think in terms of things that are features that are shared between buyers and sellers, we really take customer support and customer success very seriously, in a way that I think I've worked at a number of companies and I've dealt with a number of companies, and you can't not say that, but it's really, again, we try to match our internal processes with what we put in the app. I think someone said that any product is sort of a representation of the business that created it, and whatever your company culture is, whether you want it to or not, is going to show in the product that you make, especially when it's, maybe not when you're making plungers, but when you're making ecosystems like this. So as a result, I think because Candid, the app, is so focused on the relationships, and I'm really trying not to sound like a soap salesman here, but like it is really, it's really true. Like there is no question too small. There is no support ticket that we won't field and answer in as much depth as you want to go to, because it's in our best interest. And yeah, Jolie, you spend a lot of time. You'll see your face on a lot of our help documentation.
Yes.
And
I don't leave people hanging, so I'm always like, I'm there.
It's true.
To the point where now when I need support from like another company, I have this like new standard that I hold them to. And I'm like, okay, it's been 2 days. Where are they? And that's like a chat situation. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, you've set the bar high. Yeah.
Yeah, for myself and for others. But it's true. I mean, I think it's really, really important, and that's why, I have set the bar so high for it. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, the fact that we're 25 minutes into this presentation and we've still kind of covered just the front door. There's a lot here. We try to simplify everything wherever we possibly can, but as a piece of software that helps you run your entire wholesale business, there are a lot of moving pieces, and it is expected that people will have questions. We offer onboardings. Anyone who wants help getting set up and integrated, you can do so. If you need to hook up with your e-commerce, you can do it with the push of a button, but we're also happy to push that button for you, to talk you through it, to show you some of the best practices.
Yeah, and
So
some people like to just look at the articles and do it themselves, and they don't
yeah,
really want someone to tell them how to do it. And so we offer a lot of options for that. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we're here, and we're also we are not going to bother you if you don't want us to be here. We will not be here. But yeah, we've got um, extensive yet concise articles about anything you could possibly want to know. Um,
And ever
so
expanding.
ever expanding. No, and it's, if you have a question, you too could be the co-author of
That's
your
right.
very own help article.
It may inspire a new article.
Hmm.
It's akin to getting a disease named after you, but it's still
Well,
it's still not undesirable.
and I think that that type of responsiveness is unique to Candid, and I don't know if other companies have that. That like, well, we're going to write an article about this if we don't have one already, and it'll be up there for other people to use too.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. That's part of why we did this. We wouldn't have started this company however many years ago if we thought that every one of these needs was getting met perfectly
Yeah.
out there in the marketplace. So a couple quick, I'm gonna walk through the three classes of user real quick. So there's brands, there's retailers, and there's showrooms. And this will be a very high level overview, obviously, but everything that we've talked about so far is shared, like from the orders, the relationships, the notifications, all that. Everyone gets that. And then these are some of the things that are a little bit more specific depending on if you're a buyer or a seller. So obviously, as we talked about the HQ, you get slightly different things for sellers as you do for buyers. So when you're a buyer, you get the recently updated orders, but you also get the incoming shipments. You get invoices that are due, and that's about it. But the big idea being, you get this incoming shipments, and you get a slightly different grid too, because you're probably, if you're using this, you're likely buying from a number of vendors, and so it's more helpful for you as a buyer to have little thumbnails of what was that thing I bought, versus as a seller, it's your catalog, what's going on there. Back to seller lands. The order form itself doesn't exist in a vacuum. Candid gives you a shareable catalog. So let's see if I have a catalog here. Do I have a catalog? Is it set up?
That would be ideal.
All right. So yeah, so here's a, there's Celery Man. I was testing to see whether GIFs
how much
worked
is that
in this
one?
format. That one is $68. And I'm sorry, that's Tane. So you get, let me get a different catalog because I think we have an even better catalog available.
Well,
let's do,
yeah, and our shareable catalog is what I feel like is what people need right now, especially with trade shows not happening and with craft fairs not happening, is like a way to show people what they have, what's available now, and have the order begin there. It's not just a PDF where you're just looking at a page. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. And we, a lot of, if you've done any selling by mail, you will have a PDF in your life. You will potentially have a 20 megabyte PDF that's beautiful, and yeah, maybe too. You've got a lookbook and a line sheet, and here's North of West's Spring Summer one. It's gorgeous. It's a super useful document. And pre-Candid, the workflow is you look at this, you say that's great, and then you write an email saying I want 5 of these fantasy Lindsay blouses in small, medium, and large. And they say, okay, well, actually, our sizes are X, Y, Z, et cetera. So a point being, you don't have to throw this stuff away. It's beautiful marketing material. It's beautiful sales material that you have and that helps people make informed orders. But we include it on the order. And then, if you want to go look for, is that part of this catalog? No. This doesn't quite go there, but if you want to find the actual thing, when you get into the product view, you get much more detailed information. You get, multiple images, you get the description, you get size availability, you get MSRP, and the ability to jump in and start an order right from there, which is one of those small things that the main reason we designed it that way is because of our two sort of like bugaboos, which are time spent doing duplicate data entry and errors, which when you eliminate those two from the process, things move much, much, much more quickly. And it's easier for smaller businesses to scale and for larger businesses to scale faster.
And then I guess this is a good time to note this too, like when you're in the product view, and let's say currently you might be out of extra small, but you still have all the other sizes. So that's like one of the strengths of Candid is that you can sell your immediates. So you can just have the availability show that in this catalog. And then someone can still be like, hey, I still want a small, medium, large size run. That's fine with
Absolutely.
me, which is an awesome thing that you can do here.
Absolutely. No, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, immediates, that's another, when we get into the inventory stuff, that I think we'll talk about at the end of this, but that's immediates versus pre-order is sort of a whole dichotomy that exists a lot within the wholesale world, and it's rare that the systems play nicely together, and we spend a lot of time making sure that they do so. So your catalog, you can edit it to your heart's content. Your products, we sync with your e-commerce. So what that means is that if you've got, it works best with Shopify and WooCommerce and Squarespace. But honestly, if you have a different type of platform, reach out to us. We can get you in there, and we're integrating new platforms all the time. But it basically pulls down all the data that you have from your catalog, so you don't have to worry about uploading images. You don't have to worry about recopying. You don't have to take all your stuff that you already have, put it in some special CSV, and upload it here. It just plugs in and it goes. And if you're on Shopify or WooCommerce, which are our most connected platforms, what that means is that it stays completely synced. So you never even have to go back and touch this again. As you're making changes in your direct-to-consumer store, it's syncing immediately to Candid. You get to pick what goes in your catalog and where it goes. So you can make your own sections, you can arrange them however you want. And you can very quickly and easily add things. So like, let's say I want to find my pants. Start typing pant, select all of them, say, we're moving our pants to closeouts. Done. 51 products just got added to that section. You have control, you got similar bulk pricing over your wholesale price. Let's say you've got keystone pricing or some kind of very specific fixed multiple. Again, we're doing closeouts on pants, so let's set the wholesale prices on our pants. Our markup, we're really looking to move these pants, so we're going to do a 1.25 markup.
Such a deal. Yeah.
These pants can't fly out the door fast enough. Just like that, it updates all of them. Inventory is, I could talk for a whole day and a half about inventory, but suffice it to say, we support a variety of inventory strategies. If you're selling unlimited quantities, you can do so, and you can set that at a per product level. If you have limited stock, you can either control it within Candid, or you can have it sync back to your direct-to-consumer, which, as Atasha was saying, is the best possible way. If you have 10 pairs of these pants that you just want to sell, if someone wants to buy 5 wholesale, they do it, they press a button, and then you're not going to sell more than the 5 that you have left in your Shopify or wherever, which is, again, saves a lot of time, saves a lot of feelings, and just helps you,
not
especially in
as
this
much
moment.
counting by hand.
Yeah, not enough hand counting. Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll still want to do it periodically, just because inventory is one of the world's nastiest things to deal with ever. But but we pride ourselves in getting that down to the bare minimum. Also, just a note, there's it says physical stock available and reserved. This is very in the weeds of inventory, but a lot of times, if you have 10 of those pants, excuse me, and you want to sell 3 of them in October and it's May, reserved is that middle ground for someone's called dibs on it. I have them in the room, but they're not for sale. And Candid makes it very easy to disaggregate that data, because it gets very confusing very fast when you start dealing with the 4th dimension of time and a finite stock of inventory.
Do we have any?
Touched it knows.
Do we have any 5th dimension features on here that we're
not yet?
Today?
Not
okay.
yet. That's either coming
Secret
or not coming
beta.
in our
Okay.
quantum update. So yeah, and then this all feeds into the catalog, which is what we saw in the other window, the nice looking little catalog that you can
I apologize, there's no header. That's my fault.
That's fine.
I was in here the other day messing around, and I accidentally got rid of our nice hand-woven header.
Let's add a header. I have a whole work safe folder of just nice desktop wallpapers that we menus. Oh, that looks nice. That makes me want to shop. Yeah, you can add headers and just make them look nice and pretty. You can add your line sheets or your lookbooks, your PDFs, and you can call them whatever you want to call them. As we were talking about earlier, you know, it's worth repeating. A 20 megabyte lookbook is not something you want to be getting in your inbox. You would much rather, you know, nor is it something that you want to go digging through your emails to find the link to when you finally do make it to the online catalog. And having those within arm's reach is very helpful for people who use them as tools. That's that. And then, yeah, and finally we've, I think that does it for the brand specific things that are nice to know. Moving on to retailer specific items, let's jump to the buyer HQ. The big kind of killer feature right now that we have on this, let's find an actually completed order. Let's go to purchases and let's find orders with statuses of approved. Search. Oh, no orders found. Let's clear that one. Oh, I guess they're all drafts in this account. That's valid. This is not a buyer's account. Let's go to my other window. Let's try that again. Buyer HQ recently changed. Okay, here's an approved one right here. Looks good. So, you know, you don't always get the right things in the mail. 9 times out of 9, pretty much you do. But sometimes things are broken. Sometimes things are out of stock. Sometimes there's a late game replacement where you order 3 of an item, but they only have 2, and they say, "I'm really sorry. You know, we miscounted. We'll give you a credit." You know, in order to make your accounting and bookkeeping nice and clean, what you're going to want to do is, as you've received an order, you have the option to intake it. And let me see where that is. Has this one been received? Or do I need to pay for it?
It looks like it says awaiting payment.
Awaiting payment. Okay. Well, I want to find one that's paid. I don't want to pay a bill right now. Let's see. It says paid. There we go. This one looks a bit more my style. Okay, great. So once it's been paid and it's been shipped, you can go to the intake screen. And what's great about this is it just very quickly, you know, it syncs with your inventories. So if you've got, you know, if you have an inventory that you've already, or an inventory location that you've already set up, say in Shopify, you can say, "Oh, great, I got 2 of these. Yep, 2, 3 of these. Yep, 3." And if it's a new product, you can push the product directly to Shopify, which you know, all that stuff, all the pictures, all the description, everything just goes right over to Shopify as an unpublished product for you to tweak before releasing. Or if you do have it, you can just add 2 more items to the inventory. And this is, you know, if you've ever received a shipment, especially of new items, that can be hours and hours of data entry and just type, you know, that kind of not, you know, roll your eyes and you say knowledge work as you sit there and you just type and you copy and you paste, and it's silly and it eats time.
And there's human error.
I used to do it by hand. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah,
No, please.
go for it. Yeah.
I was just to say I worked a like big background in retail, but several jobs where we did all that by hand. And not even a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Just a pencil.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You can do it, but it has the kind of quiet chilling effect of like, you know, it just gives you more work if you order a new product. You shouldn't be penalized for growing your business, you know, and reaching out and building out your network. So another nice thing about this too is that once the products are linked like that, not only do you get the time savings on data entry, you get the ability to pass through sell-through reports, and it defaults to off because that's your data. But if you want to share with your brand, you know, a lot of times brands will say like, "Hey, you know, I see that you bought 8 of these shirts. How many actually did you sell through?" And when everything's connected through Candid and you've opted into all the data sharing that you want to do with a given brand, suddenly they get real-time information. So they said, so as a brand, you can say, "Hey, well, you bought 8 of these. A year ago, you sold 1 of them. But this other thing that you bought 5 of, you sold out in a week. So why don't we rebalance your next order, even though you say you want 8 more of these?" You know, survey says, try doing this, and that's just kind of a taste of the power of having the interconnected system and why we keep hammering on about the relationship, because it's not just about feeling good and being friendly, but it's about really tracking trends and noticing things in the data that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily notice if you're, because you don't necessarily know the right questions to ask. But that is a perfect example of something that is hidden in plain view, that Candid really surfaces.
Right. And as a seller, you want your buyers to sell through, and you don't want your stuff sitting on their shelf forever. You want it to be out the door and people are wearing it and loving it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's, having your retailer pay an invoice is not the end of the game. You ultimately want your products in the hands of the consumers. Another really, really good thing for retailers and also for brands, but is this, Candid Pay, which is our payment processor. And one of our core tenets of all of this is that you don't have to change the way you do business to do it better with Candid, which means we play nice with the other tools. You can do as much or as little of this offline as you want. We're not gonna throw a fit if you have an existing system that works for you that you also want to use. But we do make it, if you want to do everything in Candid, you absolutely can. And we have Candid Pay, which is simply an integration with Stripe, which is one of the largest credit card processors that there is. So we don't have some hand-rolled server in the background that's storing your credit card data. That all goes through Stripe, which is what you want. But it makes it very, very easy. If you have an invoice within Candid and someone receives it, they just plug in their credit card and they pay it right there. I know not everybody likes to pay with credit cards. Different people have different ways of doing it, and we are expanding Candid Pay later in the year to include, ACH, financing options, all sorts of other things. But for anyone who's ever chased down a net 30 invoice that has actually turned into a net 50 or a net never, it's really, really nice to just say, hey, put it on your credit card, just click here. And that is one of the things when we were talking about the difference between the feature tiers. There is a processing fee. At the complete level, it's 0.25%. So it's hopefully won't move the needle. It just basically covers our costs for providing this service. But the people who've been using it across the board think that is 100% worth it for the convenience that it entails.
Right. And also just using this invoice process, you add shipping, and you can also put discounts in, which is really helpful. So it's just nice because there is some flexibility within there too. Like, let's say someone has a credit from last season because they returned an item. You can have that in their next invoice.
Totally. And deposits as well. If you're a business that does deposits, you can have a deposit separately and you can split payment however you want. So the final creature in our menagerie of use cases is the showroom. We have created our own little showroom just this morning, Sugar Baker and Associates. A showroom, if you're not familiar, if you've ever worked with a rep, they are potentially involved with the showroom. A showroom is an aggregator of brands who hand selects a group of brands that they want to work with, and leverage the network effect of their network. The fact that they know all these people, they have all these systems in place, and they have a reputation for a certain type of quality, and usually a certain, brands that are repped by a showroom will often sell well together. So it's just efficiency across the board. If you go to a trade show, you go to the booth for, let's say, Sugar Baker and Associates, and you know that your boutique, of their 4 brands, like 2 of them sell really well in your shop. So that cuts your time in half and you can place orders with them. Showrooms and reps have unique data challenges because they need everything that a brand needs, but then they also need the cross section of that. They need the longitudinal sort of, I need to look at what all my brands are doing. I need to be able to jump back and forth and not have 5 windows open as I'm jumping around between my brands. And I need to look at the retailers that they're working with and see that this store in Seattle is buying from 3 of my brands, but has, 86 to my 4th brand or whatever. So we've built out a number of tools specifically for showrooms, and we actually have a number of showroom users who have helped guide the process, and stepped in the potholes so that you don't have to if you're a showroom and you're looking for something like this. And basically you get you're essentially a seller. You have a lot of the same seller things, but with a couple key differences. You can quickly switch between your active companies. if you go to relationships, you can filter, let's find this company, for your relationship history based on the brand that you're looking at. And lastly, your notification settings, those who emails me what. Oh, wait, let me switch back to the actual showroom itself. You can go through and look at all of your brands and say, who's the default rep for orders, who's the default buyer, seller, et cetera, for each of the brands individually. So maybe, you know, my old friend Candid Support is the default user for Candid Retail, but I want second user, who I went to college with, to be the default one for Handwoven Industries, because that's their beat and those reps. And when you go onto an order, you will see, let's create a new one right now for tape mix. And let's do old Candid Wholesale. You get to pick who the assigned rep is. So that's the default, but you can really, you know, anyone can field anything that they want to field. And then they get an extra notes column. So you can really, you can say like, hey buyer. And then you can say, hey brand. And then you can say, hey other rep. And these all live in the system and update over to the CRM so you can track your whole history. It's a little in the weeds, but if it's something that is useful for you, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears of joy went into the creation of these features, and our showrooms who are using it have been very vocal about what they needed and are very vocal about how much they love it now.
And if you're a brand who works with a rep, it might be something that they're interested in too, that they don't know about. This is an option for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot. You know, to speak to the point of so many brands working with kind of pen, paper, and Excel, that problem is magnified 1,000-fold for showrooms. I think there are some showroom options out there, but it is a much narrower field, and a lot of the technology is quite old and clunky and expensive. And you know, the best solutions I've seen are basically, you know, homebrewed solutions that are on par with Candid in a lot of ways, that have just been, you know, a decade in the making, because you have to, because when you're taking if you're doing it right, you will drown otherwise. And it's all, you know, what we do and what the people who seek Candid, I think, share the value of, is just that, like, you need to scale to a level that would otherwise be impossible if you're taking too much time. You have to automate and you have to streamline. So those are the main points. I think, you know, to wrap this up, you know, this is all well and good, but if you look outside, everyone's stuck in their homes and stores are shuttered and people are losing their jobs left and right. So the last thing I want to touch on is what we're doing now, in addition to just, you know, making things free, which is helpful. You know, it doesn't matter if there's nothing to do, and if no one's buying and no one's making, and there's no money in the system. So as you mentioned before, Natasha, the ability moving into the inventory world, you know, what we were talking about, like, let's see this, let me look at my inventory and see if I'm hooked up here, but the ability to sell whatever you got to whoever wants it, whether they're, you know, we got the Shopify managing or Candid, you can really, like, very, very quickly make sure that you are not double selling, you're not overselling, and you're not underselling. If you want to sell 10 units, you want to sell 10 units. 5 is not 10, 15 is not 10, and there are different problems with each of them. And we haven't seen any other system that lets you do that, because even if there's a step of manual ordering, you know, there's that issue of, like, unless you're just jumping to your computer every time someone places an order, there's going to be a lag in which system has which information. And the fact that this is hooked up automatically, if you're doing any kind of volume and any kind of speed, is just going to save you from having to go in and cancel orders and apologize to people and refund credit cards and the whole dance you have to do when you oversell. But it's also, you know, going to let you say yes if someone does want to buy all 10 of those in either one of the channels. You know, you can have it both ways until it's sold, which can be the difference. Yeah.
Right. And the selling immediate, it's great for brands. So you can get rid of the stock that you maybe you were going to have for wholesale at the beginning of spring when you had all these orders that got canceled. And now you've been slowly selling them direct to consumer, and maybe you have a few size runs left. And it's great for retailers too, because maybe they want to have their first orders for when they're reopening be a little smaller because they don't have the capital to do big orders for the whole season yet. So it works for both sides.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing that people are doing that we're seeing a lot of right now, as things are kind of mellowing out, again, as we talked about, wholesale is by its very nature very cyclical. You've got your busy seasons and your slow seasons, and there is sort of a sine wave that just always happens. And we're just, in a lot of ways, anything that you would normally be doing during one of the down points in the cycle, keep doing that. If you want to get set up, if you want to integrate your catalog, it certainly shouldn't take you more than a few minutes, but this is a great time to get your catalog synced and to pick your header images and get your prices all set up and just get everything ready to go, so that when everybody is open for business again, you're not starting from a complete standstill. And finally, I don't really have anything to show at this point, but we are, again, unless they cancel Christmas, there's going to be a lot of activity around the holiday markets in July going into August. And we're working very hard on some new features that I don't want to sell any wine before it's time, but we're going to be very, very much in the game and in position to help you with a virtual trade show that we think we're pretty excited about it, and we think it has potential to really move a lot more units than if you weren't participating in it. So know that those features are coming in time. They're not just sort of vaguely off there, but we are going to be reaching out again when it gets a little bit closer, and we're ready to start getting people set up for that in the summer. So yeah, to wrap it up, I think just to completely hammer on these 4 points again, I think this is our lifeblood. We really live and breathe this stuff. The keys to wholesale: you got to find new partners, you got to optimize your ordering, eliminate waste, and build and maintain trust. And we at Candid are happy to be a part of that, however it makes sense to do so. We'd love to have you as a user. If you're just, a lot of times you can just kind of have if you're a retailer, you'll maybe get some orders from brands that are in Candid that you sort of see. We'd love you to come and check it out and see what else is in there. I will say this, having said that, it is a limited access right now, so you do need to know someone to get in. But at this point, if you're watching this, you know us. We've got plenty of resources for ways to reach out. There's chat widgets galore, and we've created a number of what our marketing department would call funnels to make sure that if you want to talk to us, you can find us. So
we're here.
We are here.
Yep.
We are here.
In our separate homes, yes.
We're here and here and here. And here.
Our multiple Candid offices.
Yeah. Satellite locations.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Natasha and Julie, for joining me.
Thanks, Dave.
Guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We'll see you around.
We'll do it again. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.